Many people in the tribe have been requesting the ST sleep video. So finally, in this video, I'm going to talk about ST sleep for those who has it in a demon state. So ENTPs, ISFJs, ESFJs, and INTPs are all types that can have ST sleep. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to define what ST sleep is by going over the parts. The first part of ST sleep is introverted sensing, and introverted sensing is an organizing function. It's organizing facts, it's organizing and labeling personal space. Things are personal, it's an action sequence, it's also sensory memory. Next, we have introverted thinking, which is the second part of ST sleep. And introverted thinking is an identity function, it's an internal decider, it's also the personal truths. Reasons are personal, it's a focus on logical consistencies and problem solving. It's creating a framework for certain objects or areas. It's maximizing effectiveness with minimal amount of work. When you put this together, you get ST sleep. And ST sleep is an introverted animal. It's prioritizing what works for the self. It's setting boundaries with the tribe. It's conserving energy and getting enough rest. It's self-awareness. Your identity is tied to intelligence. It's internal processing, it's being factually accurate, it feels mechanic inside, it's having an organized routine for the self, and it's being self-sufficient. So let's look at the ST sleep and NF play axis. And mainly because with NF play, you are expending a lot of energy for the tribe. And when you expend so much energy for the tribe, what happens is that your body and mind starts to break down. So basically, a good way to sum up ST sleep in one word is that it's having a mind and body that works. Jordan Peterson is an example of someone that has ST sleep last, and as you know, he was hospitalized last year because he started relying on this drug that had Xanax and Valium in it, which I do believe he is using to help him cope with anxiety and also to get some rest. And what ended up happening was that he fell apart after doing so much play. And basically, to sum it up, he no longer has a mind and body that works. Obviously, he's recovered since then, and hopefully he's taking care of his body better. But this is one of the extreme examples of what will happen to someone who doesn't take care of their mind and their body. So how do you practice ST sleep? Well, one of the best ways to practice ST sleep is to create a routine for yourself to take care of your mind and body. As you know, having routines makes things more efficient, and you get to the point where you don't even think about it anymore. And the less you think about doing something, the less energy that you expend doing it. It's also having a strict exercise routine that you never break. It's having a strict and specific diet that you adhere to. It's scheduling strict alone time and rest time for yourself. And it's having a strict budget that you never break. Now, it sounds very controlling and also very restrictive, but by having this in place, it's actually gonna help you do play later on. Now, it's also important to be specific when you are putting together your routine for yourself. So for example, if you are putting together an exercise routine for yourself, then you need to be very specific at which exercise that you will do for that week. So for example, you might want to do some squats, some kettlebell swings, some chest press, some rows, some lat pull down, some shoulder press, some planks, and 20-minute cardio at the end. So that's just an example of being very specific with the exercise and making sure that you adhere to those exercise or do your best to adhere to those exercise no matter what. When it comes to diet, you also want to have a strict diet that works for you. So it might not work for everyone else, but for you, it works. So pick a diet that you want to follow and stick to it. So I'll give you an example. In Canada, we have the Canada Food Guide. And in the Canada Food Guide, they tell you that half the plate must be vegetables and fruits. So for example, for that week, you might say, okay, for the whole week, I'm only gonna eat broccoli and cabbage, and that's gonna be half my plate. And then in the Canada Food Guide, 1/4 of the plate is protein and the other 1/4 of the plate is carbs. So for the whole week, that's what you're gonna have in your plate, and you're gonna stick to this diet, and you're gonna eat it 3 times a day. So that's what I mean by ST sleep, is that you're very regimented, and not often do you break this routine. You'll also have a strict budget that works for you. I'll use one of my friends as an example. I have an ENTP friend who does have Saviour sleep, and she likes traveling, but she never goes over her travel budget. She has a specific budget for flights, a specific budget for accommodations, and a specific budget for excursions. And she never breaks the budget. If she wants to do more excursions, then she has to make sure that she saves money on other areas. She's so crazy at making sure that her budget is so strict and she never breaks it, that at one point, she actually slept outdoors to save money on accommodation so that she can do more excursion later on. Now, that's a bit of an extreme example, But what I'm trying to say here is that even in your daily life, you must have a strict budget for entertainment, for food, for health, and all other expenses that you have. And make sure that it works for you. It doesn't have to work for other people, but it works for you. And of course, you must have a strict routine when it comes to rest and recover. For example, an ESFJ that I recently interviewed told me that for him, he has no problem working 12-hour days from Monday to Friday, but Saturday and Sunday is 100% resting and recovering. And whenever he gets a time where he has a big chunk of block of vacation time, like let's say a whole month, then he has no problem taking the whole month off to relax. And that's what I mean by really taking the time to rest and recover, is by respecting the time off that you get and making sure that you use the time to just rest and relax. Now, there's also a lot of toxic behavior that is correlated to ST sleep that you want to avoid, because it's going to have some bad repercussions for yourself and your friends and family member if you don't stop doing this. The first one is counting favor points. So ST sleep likes to count things, and people who are ESFJs especially, but some ISFJs also do this, is they like to do something called collecting favor points. And how it works is they'll buy you lunch or buy you dinner, and basically what they're doing is that by buying you lunch and dinner, you now feel like you owe them something. And those are favor points that they are collecting, because later on, if they want, they can call up on those favor that you must do. Now, they don't always do it, obviously, but this is kind of the dark side of that ST sleep. Another bad thing about ST sleep is being so cheap that you alienate or anger everyone. So I know some people, especially those who are single observers, especially ISFJs and ENTPs, who has ST sleep in a savior state, who tend to be so cheap with their money that they piss everyone off. So this is not a good way for you to use ST sleep. This is a bad toxic behavior of ST sleep. Not asking for help is also a bad behavior of ST sleep. This is especially true for ESFJs and INTPs. ESFJs because they don't want people to get favor points from them, and INTPs because they think their way is the best way. Also because ST is very logical, that means your intelligence is tied to you being self-sufficient. So some people with ST sleep, especially those who are ESFJs and INTPs, feel like they are stupid if they ask for help, which is actually far from the truth. A lot of ENTPs and ISFJs don't have problem asking for help because they don't have people problems. It's not a problem to ask for help. So make sure that you don't go out of your way to not ask for help. Another toxic behavior of ST sleep is being extremely rigid at how you do things, having that my way or the highway attitude. And this is mainly for INTPs. A lot of INTPs think that their way of doing things is a superior way. And you can't blame them. A lot of times, their way is actually the best way. I mean, if you look at a lot of famous people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, all these people made it to the top of the richest people in the world because of that ST sleep savior. However, you might argue that those people might have just been in the right place at the right time. That's why they reached the success that they did. And it actually doesn't hurt to be a little bit flexible on how you're gonna do things. At the same time, a lot of INTPs get tribe hate as a result of this. And by being more flexible with how you do things, the tribe is gonna hate you less, and you're actually gonna maintain more friends in your life by not being so extreme when it comes to this. So the perfect balance of using ST sleep is being self-sufficient but having no problems with asking for help. So this is specifically to ESFJs and INTPs. You're frugal, but you set aside a budget for tribe stuff. So this is a big problem for ISFJs and ENTPs that have ST sleep in a savior state. You want to look at the ESFJs on how they use this, because they are so balanced when it comes to things that they do set aside a bigger budget when it comes to doing tribe stuff. That way, yes, they are cheap, but when it comes to doing tribe stuff, they've already put it in their budget that they're gonna spend X amount of dollars, and it might be an amount where they don't even flinch because they know they've already budgeted it in. And by doing so, you don't alienate the tribe and you maintain your friendships. And also, it's important that you don't deviate from your routines, but schedule in time for other people as well. So yes, you're gonna stick to your diet, you're gonna stick to your budget, you're gonna stick to your exercise, and you're gonna stick to your alone time routine. You're gonna schedule it in your calendar, but you're also gonna schedule in people time. That way, if people ask you to hang out, tell them, okay, I'm available this time, this time, this time, this time. So you'll have a lot of times where it's open for you to socialize with other people. And that way, yes, you do have your routines that can make you come across as selfish, but if you open up times that's available, then no one's gonna get mad at you. And by following the example of the perfect balance of how to use ST sleep, you're gonna have a mind and body that works while still maintaining your relationships with friends and family members.